the first collaborative feature I want to demo is a really exciting one, which is the ability to create shareable auralizations. So you can set up your own auralizations, and then with kind of just one click of a button, you can send this auralization to anyone, anywhere in the world through the web, and they can on the receiving end step into that auralization through the browser and listen and experience this. This can, for example, be a very nice option if you're an acoustics designer and you want to share some design options with, say, a client. And this helps them kind of make an informed decision of which way to go. So I have a model here, an open plan office, which I will play around with to demo this particular thing. I've set up a simulation here where I have 2 sound sources in the space, 3 receivers. I ran it with some particular material configurations. I'm going to set up an auralization here, and I'm going to compare these 3 simulations that I've run, which are sort of 3 design options for my client, let's say. First one is with a hard ceiling, so quite reverberant space. Then I've added an acoustic ceiling, and then I've added an acoustic ceiling and some partitions between the desks. And I'm going to put in a couple of sounds here for the sound sources that are in the simulation. So let's say Office Atmos and Office Dialogue. I will sort of tune these things a bit here. Maybe we can quickly listen before I share it. So this is the dry sound, the anechoic sound before going into the room. And now I jump into the room. Maybe minimize this guy here so we see a bit better. Different options here. Jump between different receivers. Okay, I'm quite happy with this auralization that I've set up. So now I want to share this with my external collaborator. So I will save it as a preset here. I'll give it a name, webinar sharing test 1. And I'll write a short description. Option, let's just say A, recommended, or whatever, acoustic ceiling plus partitions. B, cheaper option, acoustic ceiling only. C, hard ceiling, current design, as an example. Something like this. Save this bad boy and then share it. So now I can either just click this button and get a link that I could share with my collaborator, or I can input an email. I'll just send this here to myself, to my private email as such. Now I will receive a link via mail, which I can open up as an external collaborator. I don't have a Treble account or I'm a Treble subscriber or anything like that. I'm just somebody who got an email. Let's go here. Here's the email I received. Let's take a look. So it will send me to this sort of standalone auralizer. First I'll get some tips on, or let's say a small tutorial on how to use it. I'm a person who has maybe never used this auralizer functionality before. It tells me here I can flip between different design options. I can change listening positions by clicking the arrows or selecting from the drop-down. I can look around by panning the mouse with the right button, and I can play with the play button. So this is kind of what faces me. Here is the description I wrote, so I can see, okay, A corresponds to the recommended design, B is the cheaper option, and C is sort of where as it is today. And I can simply hit the play button. I can experience this and compare how it sounds. It's kind of improved acoustics versus the current state. So that's a new and very powerful way to share auralizations with your clients and external collaborators. Okay. Okay. Speaking of collaborations, this was kind of external collaboration, but also collaborating within your own organization. we have the ability now to have a shared material database, which can be very useful for big organizations or small and big organizations, and also shared sound source libraries as well. So if I just show you here how the material library looks now. So we see here that we have 3 different tags of materials or categorizations. We have the default materials, which are the materials that come with Treble. But then we also have materials that belong to my organization, that my user is associated with. And this is the Treble or fictional organization, and we have made some materials here which belong to that organization. I can also see materials that I have myself made, and I can then choose whether to share this material with my fellow colleagues or not. So maybe if I'm just testing something, I would not do that. But if I've input some new product, for example, into Treble, and all of my colleagues want to use that, might want to use that, then I can kind of commit this to the shared material library. And we can do this here. If I go to the detail view of this particular material, then we can, click and unclick this share with organization capability. The same goes for loudspeakers or sound sources. So if I open the loudspeaker database here, then we see all the different loudspeaker types that are in Treble now. This list is constantly growing, but then again we have this categorization as well, where we have some kind of loudspeakers that have been imported and shared within my own organization, including some loudspeakers that I have myself imported, and then again I can choose to either share this with my colleagues or not. Next thing I wanted to show you is improved capabilities for loudspeaker modeling. So in the last webinar, we introduced the abilities to import CLF files into Treble, so you could import your own loudspeakers, and as well sort of have a big database of loudspeakers that come with the tool. This database is also growing rapidly. We're working with many of the big loudspeaker manufacturers to get more and more data into Treble. But we're adding more capabilities now. Let me showcase that quickly through a demo. So let me show you this little example space here. It's a sort of a little home studio. Let me hide this surface receiver here so we see a bit better what's going on. So here you will see a small home studio or listening room where I have a couple of Genelec speakers here, left and right, and a D&B subwoofer here on the floor. And before, we could model the directivity of these sources, but now we can also take into account their frequency responses, and we can EQ the sound power of the sources as well, and kind of different frequencies. And I've already run a couple of simulations here. Let me just show you real quick how this can look like. So here, now this frequency response of the speaker is also taken into account, not just directivity, and I could EQ the source if I wanted beforehand. And in fact, I did that here for the sub. I did not EQ it, but I just adjusted the level to be a bit more reasonable, so the whole thing makes a bit more sense. And obviously the frequency response of the sub is taken into account as well. And I've already run a couple of simulations here, one with some acoustic treatment in the space and one without. And I think we can now just quickly hear what this sounds like. So let me go in here and compare these two simulations. I'm going to put some music on the different tracks. I'm going to load some sounds that I have here myself. So this is a Fleetwood Mac song that I'm going to put on. I'm putting the kind of left and right channel of each song or of the song on each loudspeaker, and then I'll put the mono track into the sub as well, like so. And then we can basically hear how this particular sound system, these speakers are going to sound in that room and experience that playing back this song. This is just the song, no room involved. And then if we go into the room, maybe the sub is slightly too high, so I'll decrease it a bit. Then I can compare. Without the acoustic treatment, the room is obviously more reverberant. just the sub. Without the sub. And then we could, of course, use treble to optimize this whole thing, optimize the acoustics of the room, optimize the position of the subwoofer or the loudspeakers, optimize what type of loudspeakers we would prefer to have in the room, and so on and so forth. Either via auralization or, of course, looking at graphs and numbers, frequency responses, color maps, and so on and so forth. That was the improved loudspeaker modeling. The last thing I want to show you is an update of our anechoic sound library. Let's go here into another model, which I've also set up a little fun simulation. Bigger space, an auditorium here, where I have placed sound sources kind of at different positions on the stage, and then a few receivers throughout the space, kind of one here on the stage, and then kind of front row, sort of third row, 11th row, and I think this is 16th row. And the anechoic sound library is quite big already, or has been quite big, but now we have added around 150 sounds more to it. So if we go into the Auralizer here and look at the library, then we've sort of added some categorization of sounds in here. We've added search functionality as well, and including, some of the sounds that we have added is, for example, all kinds of noise signals that can be useful for analyzing the sound system or the room. We've added a lot of music, Icelandic choirs, funk music, pop music, and so on. All kinds of instruments playing, ranging from synthesizers to cellos and everything in between. We've added all kinds of sort of soundscape sounds, whether that's a blender or a cough or a coffee machine or steps, ventilator, kind of to model HVAC systems and so on. So all kinds of speech as well, various different languages, English, Mandarin, Danish, Greek, Spanish, so all kinds of different sounds. Just for fun, I thought I would take this little auralization setup or the simulation setup. So here we can put kind of different, all these funk tracks here are kind of belonging to the same musical track, so we can put kind of different tracks of that song onto the different sources and kind of hear like it would be in this room. So I'll put the bass on the source I called bass, and second guitar here, something like so. So now it's like one guitar amplifier is here, the drum kit is here, the bass amp is here, and the other guitar amp is here. And we can hear this with kind of different acoustic conditions in the space. Maybe we should first just listen to the dry track. It sounds something like this. And now let's go into the room, first on the stage. Yeah, that was an example of some of the new sounds, but as mentioned, a whole lot of new sounds for you guys to play around with when creating auralizations.